Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world. Time!
Three on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game!
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Float game for the win! Ayler's gone. Come on, touchdown, Indy! Woo! IU! America! They got a football team now!
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Now, here's Jim Coyle.
Yes, it is. Hello, fellow Americans. How are you doing, sports fans? Hope you're having a good day. Hey, how about this weather, man? It's not too shabby. Not too shabby at all. It's supposed to be up in the 50s today here in, I guess you call South Central Indiana. Man, we'll dig it. It's January. Although we'll get up there. Hope you can get outside and enjoy it. It's not too bad. Not too bad as we are in championship week. The Indiana Hoosiers heading to Miami. They will I think they'll be arriving in Miami on Friday, as will I. Got my Peach Bowl hat on right now, baby. It's going to be interesting to see what Indiana fans can get done as far as tickets. They have done a phenomenal job so far of backing their Hoosiers in these first two bowl games. Kurt Signetti, back-to-back in bowl games. Indiana has back-to-back bowl game wins. I don't think that they'd ever done that. They hadn't had a bowl win since 1991. So just smashing all kinds of records. Just destroying some records. He remains undefeated in bowl games as IU's head coach at 2-0 and jumps Dan Lanning for the best head coaching record over the past two seasons and the best I mentioned this yesterday, and the best two season start ever in the Big Ten by Urban Meyer. So he also ranks first among active football coaches with the best winning percentage as an FBS coach at 4%. Wow. Hello. That'll get your attention. How's everybody doing? Appreciate you. Appreciate you very much. Looking forward to our old friend, Mike DeCourcy, stopping by today. Plenty to talk about. The Indiana Hoosier basketball program on the road tonight at East Lansing. Tough place. Tough team. Also stopping by today, of course, in Campbell's corner, J.D. Campbell, of course, but he'll have Chris Korman, former IU beat writer, now the sports director at the Baltimore Banner. Get a little mix of people that used to have a view from here and now from elsewhere. I hope your day is going well. And who managed to get tickets to Miami? I know people that are going just to go. Why not? It's Miami. It's going to be a hell of a party. So we'll see how many peeps. Hey, for those of you in Bloomington, make sure you stop by your Dave & Buster's over by the College Mall. They've got specials for all the IU games. $10 wings for the championship game. $5 drafts, $5 margaritas. Great place to catch a game with family or friends. You've got these 3 gigantic large wall TVs that you could watch the action on, plus tons of flat screens. Plan your next watch party or birthday party at Dave & Buster's. Sundays are fun days with half-price games. Don't forget our buddy down at Sellersburg, Dr. J. Reynolds Family Dentistry, keeping you with that championship smile. Looking forward throughout the week as we head towards Miami. Man, I'm glad it's over the weekend this time and not over the weekdays. It makes it a little easier for us. I hope I saw Gritty getting all cut. Gritty gets more airtime than I do. She's on more radio shows than I am. Was on Outkick yesterday. One of our followers. And you can be that too. We appreciate all of our listeners on 97.7 ESPN, the Rep, always the right call there at Evansville, up in Fort Wayne on Fort Wayne's sports station, 1380 The Fan. The voice of the region, 1230 AM, 104.7 FM, and of course, home base, 98.7 The Zone in Bloomington. Keep it locked wherever you are so you can keep up with everything else. It's nothing but great sports all day. College athletes, buyout rules. I just learned that Brendan Sorsby, the former IU quarterback who left Cincinnati to go to Texas Tech for a much better NIL deal, had a two-year deal he signed and just left. Now, it had a $1 million buyout on it. Will he have to pay that $1 million? And if not, you're in trouble. People are in trouble. Because that means, what's the point of having a 2-year deal? Does it not mean anything? Are these not legal contracts? Are we that? Is it that bad where none of that stuff's enforceable? I'm not saying that it's not. I don't know. We haven't seen. It hasn't been parceled out just yet. But it's interesting. Why would they continue to get that much special treatment? Even if a coach leaves, they got to pay the buyout. Pay the damn buyout. If you got a 2-year deal. But, again, we'll see how that all shakes out. Brace that, everybody. Step it up. What am I stepping up? What am I stepping up? People buying tickets, I know that they're not cheap. Gritty sold hers for, I don't know, was it face value? Karma. You believe in karma? There you go. $900 ticket. Ticket prices are pretty pricey. Big part of that is this is the most expensive national championship ever. That has already been laid out. Of course, you've got Miami who gets to play at home, and that's going to create a gigantic drive-in tickets there. And many of those tickets were probably purchased well before. I don't know when they actually go on sale to the general public, but it was probably a while back. You know, they hold, I think, 40,000 for the individual teams. And I don't know what Miami Gardens actually holds. I would imagine it's a pretty good size one. But Indiana fans will at least have 20,000 people, and it holds 65,000. Okay, so 20, 40, 64, let's say. So there's 24,000 seats that are not allotted to either of the schools. Basically a little over a third, but we'll call it a third. A third to each, or a third to each school, and then a third that I'm sure are sold to the general public, and are used by the CFP, et cetera, et cetera. How many of those tickets will be available? How many of those tickets on the market are crazy? Crazy prices. Mike DeCourcy joining me today. Looking forward to that. As always, we're going to talk some hoops because Indiana has to go to Michigan State tonight. And they've got to find a way to get a road win. I mean, I'm not saying this is the place they're going to get it done, but it has to come at some point. And they've done it, oddly enough, at East Lansing before. That's the crazy thing, especially when they probably really weren't supposed to do that. I mean, they just didn't have the team for real, but was able to get it done. Kurt Signetti talking about portal versus high school recruiting. And in college football nowadays, you have to win every year. You have to put together a team ready to compete for championships every year. You have to adapt, improve, and be light on your feet in order to survive. Does that mean that Indiana is going to be built solely on the transfer portal? I don't think so. They're bringing in a ton of guys. Got to make sure we give Fulton a shout out. Him and his grandpa went to the game, enjoyed their game at courtesy of Josh Bruick and Hoosier Ticket Project. So congratulations. And we've got lots more coming up, including Mike DeCourcy next. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after these messages. Glad to have you along. Looking for a place to have fun with the family, friends, or both? Head to Dave & Buster's by College Mall in Bloomington. Dave & Buster's has a wide array of games for everyone, and Sunday is Fun Day, half off of all games. There are $10 wings, $5 drafts, $5 margaritas for mom and dad watching the IU games on Dave & Buster's giant wall TVs and flat screens. Head out to the new Dave & Buster's by College Mall in Bloomington. Eat, drink, play.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Andy Moore Honda Bloomington has the deals for you, like great savings on the remaining 2025 Hondas. First-time buyers get more than expected. The Honda Civic and HR-V are the most popular vehicles for first-time buyers in the U.S. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington also has a quality selection of pre-certified used vehicles. And check out the selection of Andy Moore Honda Bloomington's 2026 models, like the Honda Passport, Honda CR-V Hybrid, Honda Ridgeline, and more. Get more for your money at Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Tuesday, and that means a visit from our dear friend Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News. Mike, how are you, sir?
Oh, let's see. It's been 9.5 hours since the Steelers lost, so I'm doing okay. I'm doing all right.
Aaron Rodgers just didn't look. He did not look happy last night much at all. Nothing was going right. He just seemed pissed the whole night. It was like,
yes. Damn
it, nothing's working.
Yes.
He reminded me of Kevin Bacon in the movie Animal House at the end.
Keep calm.
I was like, man, he just was ready to blow his stack.
I appreciate the laugh for this morning. That Animal House references can always get me smiling. I'm doing fine. Much better than a lot of people who think that every time the Steelers lose, Mike Tomlin should be shipped out of town, and every time he wins, it's just an accident.
Yeah, the fact that they were there this year. I mean, you've got Old Man Rivers original at quarterback who got you to the freaking playoffs, man. To the playoffs, a place where the Colts haven't seen since Moby Dick was a minnow. So they should be happy. It's when you have sustained success, and even a first round loss in the playoffs is still success. You made the damn playoffs. But I know it's not the level, it's not the expectation, and the Steelers is one of those organizations that has high expectations because of just rampant success. But
what's amazing, and this is
you get spoiled.
What's amazing, Jim, and this is something that has baffled me, is that the Steelers have followed a certain pattern and method of operation for nearly my entire life. Since Dan Rooney took over the team in the late 60s. He's no longer with us, unfortunately. His son is now running the team. But since Dan Rooney took over the team in the late 60s, they followed a particular format. Be good on defense. Don't fire coaches every time things look a little bit disappointing. Keep stability within the organization. That's been their approach. And a lot of fans, I don't know what the number is, I don't know what the percentage is, but a lot of fans think that you should do things like all the teams that aren't the Steelers, and therefore you'd get better results than the Steelers, who've won as many Super Bowls, as have won more than all but one other team, have won more games since 1970 than anybody, have made the playoffs. I think it's right around the most or second most. Their results have been better than everybody's, but because the results haven't been exactly where you'd want them to be since 2016 or 2017. Then they feel like they need to do everything differently and do them like the teams that aren't winning all those games. It's exhausting, Jim. But let's talk about more fun stuff, like the fact that the Indiana football team is 60 minutes away from making legitimate sporting history.
Yeah, this it's not a debate. I mean, it is of sort, but I still think if they do this will complete the greatest sports story ever. I know that because of national, it being such an emotional thing from a national standpoint with the hockey team beating the Russians, it was so emotional and it was big, but this just seems like it's a big, because it's not one game. This is a culmination of a 180-degree turning of a broken down, half sunken Titanic and turned it around and it rose from the depths almost to become the most shining star in all the fleets on the ocean. And I'm like, we're all like, what the hell? But it's a magical ride, and being in Atlanta, that was mesmerizing, Mike, because it was 95% Indiana fans. If it weren't for Oregon's band, their cheerleaders, and the fact that the staff of the Peach Bowl was wearing green, it would have been, it was amazing. I mean, it was literally when D'Angelo Pons took that pick six in on the first play. One of the guys who works in the media down there, who handles the media for everything, said, never heard that stadium louder. And I can imagine you had all of one side of fans in there, and that was, boy, right off the bat, it blew the roof off.
Yeah. It's just an amazing situation. And we have all struggled to find comparisons for what Curt Cignetti has done. And it's really hard because if you look in the world of college basketball and you think about some of the more amazing turnarounds, what Mike Montgomery did at Stanford, which hadn't really been relevant in basketball. I'd have to look at how many years it took Mike to turn Stanford into a significant power in basketball, but it certainly wasn't a year. It wasn't that first year. I look at John Calipari, and UMass had been just abysmal in the years before he got there. And they became a major power in what was at that time an off-brand league. They weren't a mid-major in the Atlantic 10, but they were, and I still don't know that they are, but they certainly weren't a major power by any stretch of a league. And he did that, but it took 4 years. It took him 4 seasons to get 3 or 4 seasons to get in the NCAA tournament and win 30 games the first year. And then it took him another 4 years after that to get to the Final Four. And they never did win it. Not that they should have, but they never did. So that's a difference as well. It's really hard. And that's why all of a sudden the landing spot seems to be the miracle on ice. And what happened in that arena that day was just breathtaking and almost absurd. But it was one occasion. As the Kurt Russell character of Herb Brooks, and I do wonder if that speech was written. I've never looked into this, Jim, but the speech is just a phenomenal piece of writing. Whether that's what Herb Brooks said or that's a fictionalized version, exactly how that went. But what he said was, one night we skate with them, we drive with them, however, all the rest of it. He said one night, if we played them 10 times, they might beat us 9, or I can't remember the exact verbiage, but that concept. And that's what the difference was, is that Indiana can't do that just on one night. Indiana has had to do it on 30 some nights. And for all but 2 of the last 2 years, they have done it. And they are now in the position where if it's done to them, and I think most of the people listening to me are hoping very much that doesn't happen. But if it's done to them, that will be the miracle on turf. The Miami team is now in the position of the United States 1980 hockey team. They're the ones that are having to pull the massive upset. And so just to flip it to that is an achievement. That's not what you're looking for. You want to win Monday and make it a total, you want the whole package now because you can see it.
And like the USA team, Miami's at home.
Yeah.
On their own home turf, even more so. It'll be interesting to see what the crowd split is, because Indiana fans get at least 40, a third of the tickets, but they have these first 2 games, Rose Bowl and Peach Bowl, they have showed up and out. Now, this will be a different situation, obviously.
Jim,
because
one of the interesting things about this, before we move on or whatever, is that I remember in 2010, when Butler's got a great following, right? They put 10,000 people at Hinkle every time they play, so they've got a great following. But it's not. I mean, if you drive around Indy, you're going to see IU sweatshirts, and you're going to see Purdue sweatshirts, and you're going to see Notre Dame shirts. They don't own the whole city, if you know what I mean. And it's the same in Miami. You got Florida State people, you've got Florida people,
FAU.
There you go. So but that night in April of 2010, there were 65,000 Butler fans. It was all blue. It was, and it wasn't Duke blue. It was that deep Butler blue. And so can Miami do that, what Butler did? And I don't think they can or will, but that's the one hope that Miami has for owning the stadium on Monday night. And I don't think they will do that. I think the Indiana fans are too invested at this point to not fight that and make sure that they have at least a split, if not more.
Yeah, I agree, man. They've come this far. They love it. They're it was amazing. I've talked to a lot of people. They were from all over. At the Rose Bowl, there was somebody from Mexico City. At Atlanta, there was people from Dallas, coming up from Florida. Of course, tons down from Indiana because it was such a drivable deal. And now Miami fans are at an advantage. They don't have to buy tickets or hotel rooms. So they're solid, man. I'm sure Miami would have preferred that another team get in there, maybe the city of Miami, for the money, but yeah, fill more hotel rooms up. But Indiana fans have done a remarkable job for football. It's been so remarkable because we could just think 2 years ago, they can't even fill freaking Memorial Stadium. Yeah. And now they're filling 70,000. They're putting 70,000 butts in seats, and that is amazing to see. The most it's ever seen an Indiana team play. So it's wild to see, but it's great to see. And not only that, though, because of the recruiting success, because of their success, guys are just flocking there. This is going to continue. It's not going to just go away. So it's going to be fun to watch. We got to take a quick break. The great Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News is with us. Make sure you're giving him a follow. Keeping up with all of the great coverage there at our nation's oldest sports publication. Back with more after these messages.
The ISC Sports Network is your home for sports content across the Hoosier State. Find us live on TV and streaming or archived on our website and our app. The ISC is your one-stop shop for the content you want to see, including high school sports, college sports, and other great events throughout the year. Subscribe to our streaming service and get access to it all. ISC, local lives here.
Looking for a place to have fun with the family, friends, or both? Head to Dave & Buster's by College Mall in Bloomington. Dave & Buster's has a wide array of games for everyone, and Sunday is Fun Day, half off of all games. There are $10 wings, $5 drafts, $5 margaritas from mom and dad watching the IU games on Dave & Buster's giant wall TVs and flat screens. Head out to the new Dave & Buster's by College Mall in Bloomington. Eat, drink, play. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your Andy Moore Honda Bloomington has the deals for you, like great savings on the remaining 2025 Hondas. First-time buyers get more than expected. The Honda Civic and HR-V are the most popular vehicles for first-time buyers in the U.S. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington also has a quality selection of pre-certified used vehicles. And check out the selection of Andy Moore Honda Bloomington's 2026 models, like the Honda Passport, Honda CR-V Hybrid, Honda Ridgeline, and more. Get more for your money at Andy. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Tuesday. Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News with us. And Mike, the pieces are landing at various places. It looks like Lane Kiffin and LSU has landed Sam Levitt, one, if not the most coveted QB in the portal. And will he be there? Joe Burrow? We'll find out. But of course, Josh Hoover is at will land at Indiana after this season. And I never would have thought that let's say Alberto Mendoza would hit the portal, but I wonder now because there's been a little chatter about it, but I could see him doing it to go play somewhere for a year and come back because you can. It's like, well, you know what? If I can go get a starting job, because I'm not going to start at Indiana next year. If I could get a starting job for a year and then come back, go do it. And that could be something that he's being told to do. I don't know. He's not.
It's interesting. It's interesting, Jim, because you look at that. There's actually a player in basketball who, speaking of undefeated teams, did the exact same thing. Now, it wasn't the same scenario where you kind of invited him to do that or suggested it as a possibility or maybe just winked at him. I don't know exactly what the dynamics of this are, but Jamarcus Lawrence left Nebraska prior to the 24-25 season, went to Rhode Island. I don't know exactly why, but after
God knows why he would go play for Archie Miller. Who knows?
But I don't know why he decided to leave after a year and go back to Nebraska. So why all that happened is kind of Jamarcus's secret, I guess. But it's worked out that he's come back to Nebraska, and he was a massive factor on Saturday afternoon against the Hoosiers at Assembly Hall. Scored 27 points. He's averaging 10.5 for the Huskers now, and they are undefeated and climbing up toward number 1 seed contention. And they are I think they have to be viewed as a legitimate challenger to Michigan State, Purdue for the Big Ten championship, and that championship will be significant because of the competition at the high end. You win the league this year, you're going to have to beat some fantastic teams to do it. So I could see that it can work to do that now. And academically, it's a smart move too, because not that he needs to leave, but because he's got so much accomplished where he is. And then if he leaves and comes back, finishing off will not be, will be very much in range for him. Whereas if you go and transfer somewhere else and then transfer to a third school, then you start to maybe have some trouble getting it all done. I think it's pretty obvious that in making the moves that they have, that Indiana feels like Alberto's not quite there yet. Or they would be turning it over next season to him or putting him in a competition with someone else who developed, or maybe a lesser coveted portal recruit, something like that. So I think it'd probably be beneficial to him to see if there's a program out there where he can get on the field and get some reps. Hey, if you don't think that can work for you, Joe Flacco was a freshman, sophomore at Pitt. And he got beat out in spring practice by, I think it was Alex Van Pelt at the time, who went on to do a lot of coaching in major football. And so he transferred and he went to Delaware. He wanted to go down a level because back then you had to go down a level in order to play immediately. And he started a couple of years for Delaware, and he becomes a Super Bowl champion with the Ravens. So that can work, absolutely, to transfer somewhere where he can play and then come back. I mean, like if Flacco at the time had wanted to then go back up to a major level, Pitt or anywhere else, he could have. But back then, he would have had to sit out, and he was on his way to the NFL. He didn't need to do that.
Yeah, this is Steve Wiltfong from On3 talking about this. Let's hear what he had to say.
I think they take another quarterback too, Josh, to be the backup. Mendoza's little brother goes in the portal. They got some talented young guys on the roster, Tyler Cherry from Indianapolis, but I expect Indiana to take a backup quarterback to Josh Hoover as well in the portal before the cycle ends.
All right. What an exciting run it's been for Indiana.
Wow. That's from Steve, and Steve was pretty in tune. So that's a little wild to hear, but not really, like I said, because Curt Cignetti has made no bones over. He is about production over potential. And while I know they love Alberto and they're developing him, he does not have that starting experience. And Cignetti likes a guy who knows what the hell he's doing. And like he's got a Josh Hoover who comes in, he's thrown for 9,000 yards. Got a pretty good education under him.
I do wonder, like, just say, especially given his rep, right? Like if there was another Dan Marino out there or another Peyton Manning, someone that like was no doubt whether he would be interested. They're harder to find now because the game has evolved and it's more challenging in 2026 to walk in and be ready to play at that level, even if you have that skill set, than it was in 1994 or 1979. It's more challenging now to do that. But I do wonder if there was someone out there like that. I don't know whether the young Manning is the player that would have fit that or not. But someone like that, whether if he started knocking on IU's door, that player would you close the door on that? I don't know. I'm curious, but of course I don't know if we're going to see another player like that come along in 2026 or 27 or whatever. But it is kind of an interesting intellectual debate.
Yeah, and Alberto didn't have a chance of starting. There's someone asked, well, if he's concerned about playing time, why would he have recruited his brother? Well, he wasn't going to start this year and not going to start next year. He's got 3 years of eligibility left, people. This Curt Cignetti's not going to turn his team over to a guy that's got 3 years of eligibility left, who's only been in the system a couple of years and who has zero starting experience. Not what he's going to put out on the field. He's going to put out there the most mercenary, the toughest, best guy he can because number one goal, winning.
Right.
Period. End of story.
You used to have to do that, Jim. At some point,
yes, absolutely.
But you don't have to anymore. And when quarterbacks with real talent and real accomplishment are knocking on your door and saying, "Hey, make me Francisco Mendoza," that's Fernando.
That's what Josh Hoover's doing.
That's exactly right. When somebody's knocking on the door and saying, "Make me Fernando Mendoza," then yeah, absolutely, you're gonna open that door, and it's just a different game now, and so they don't have to do that with the younger brother, and they can now sort of suggest to him that it might be good for his development if he goes to another school that is looking for a quarterback and doesn't have the spotlight in that sense. And exactly what level that would be, I don't know. But we also know that you can transfer up from the MAC or from the Sun Belt or somewhere like that, and then become a very proficient Big Ten quarterback, a proficient high major quarterback, because we've seen that happen at IU.
I think it would be in his best interest, to be honest with you, to do just that, go find a starting job, get the starting experience, start next year. Hoover leaves, and then transfer. Then, well, you check out the situation, and if it looks viable to come in and compete for the starting job with 2 years of eligibility left, it's exactly what I would do, because you have a great relationship with the coaches already. Right. And they recruited you in, so they don't want. I don't know. I'm not going to say that I know the situation. I'm just guessing here, but yeah, it's a weird deal how it is now. But it's kind of like if you hearken back to the days when coaches, you need to go to to the military school for a year before they then come to us.
Yes.
Remember that? They used
Yes.
to ship them off to other places out of high school to develop or whatever they needed to do and then bring them in. Hell, there are teams that used to hide players like that. Hey, you need to go off here and then we bring you in the next year. It's kind of the same, not really, but it is what it is. Brendan Sorsby went to Texas Tech from Cincinnati, and I didn't realize he had a 2-year deal he signed with Cincinnati. And apparently there's a $1 million buyout. And so how is that going to, we have to wait to see. Is that going to be addressed? Are they going to enforce that? It has to be enforceable. It has to be, I would think, like a contract. If not, then there are zero rules. I mean, we got coaches moving. I get it, but at least there are buyouts being paid.
Well, if there is a contract that says that, it's enforceable, and it's up to Cincinnati whether they want to enforce it. And I suspect they will, because that's $1 million you can spend on some other position, a wide receiver, or they are
replacing that damn quarterback.
Well, they have signed a quarterback, and they may use that $1 million on that player, but they have signed another quarterback in the portal to replace Sorsby. But absolutely, it's enforceable. It's a contract. Now, they can't make him stay, but which was the case in the Washington case, where the quarterback there put himself in the portal after agreeing to a deal that has been reported at $4 million plus, wanted to then go into the portal. Washington couldn't have made him stay to play quarterback there, but they could have made him honor the terms of the deal. So now that ended up the player in Washington decided to then shut it all down and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't really mean what I said. I don't really want to leave, and I'm going to stay." That's how that all worked out. But they absolutely were in position where they could have enforced the terms of the contract, and he probably would have had to pay to get out. So I think it's smart for schools to do that. In the case of someone like Sorsby, they gave him a platform. He took advantage of that. It's not like he elevated them to greatness. They had a decent season, a disappointing season ultimately, but he got what he wanted, which was another opportunity to cash in for even more money at Texas Tech. So I don't have any problem with Cincinnati enforcing the terms of that deal.
Yeah, I saw Dylan Raiola going to Oregon. That'll be interesting. And I think that if he goes out there and is pretty successful, boy, that could be a bad look for Matt Rule, because Matt Rule has not seemed to have a lot of control over what the hell is going on in Nebraska. They're not winning, number one. They don't seem to be improving at all. Number two, he loses his franchise quarterback for reasons that I don't think had anything to do with money. He lost his brother before that, who decommitted from the school, and it just makes you want. And he's already come out and said, "Oh, Kurt Cignetti's making us all look bad." You're making yourself look bad. You're losing your ass. You lost, 5 games in a row last year, barely made it into a bowl game after sitting at 5 wins the entire season. I feel, how about Nebraska? Freaking undefeated in basketball. They're Indiana now. And we've been talking about that being Indiana for a long time before it got to this point. But now they're undefeated in basketball in the conference and can't get a winning football team to save their life.
Yeah, it's interesting because when the Penn State position was opened in early October, I think it was, Matt Rule was one of the people that was discussed. I mean, Sig was.
Yeah, and I laughed at that. I was like, "Get out of here!"
But the Sig was the guy. Of course, was the dream hire, and Indiana and he shut that down quickly, which was smart. But the idea that Nebraska embraced Rule and said, "Yeah, we still want you here," was very interesting. And I think at that point in the season, things were going okay. They weren't quite where they wanted them to be, but they were going okay. And then it got kind of worse after that. They do need to start to make some progress there. I mean, he's shown that he can be a successful coach in the past. But the interesting thing about this is that once you get time, which he's had 3 years to this point, I mean, there are some places where they're too impatient. Exactly. Alabama would be an example of that. I mean, they gave almost no time for their coaching staff to get oriented, get situated, and figure out what they wanted to do, and they were already upset. I don't know whether the season that they had maybe calmed that down a little bit. They certainly are going to have a great year next year to keep everybody happy. But Nebraska has given him 3 years now, and they haven't shown significant improvement. And they lose Raiola, who was a pretty talented guy, although Raiola is an example of someone that maybe, I don't think he was quite Marino or Manning talented, but someone that people thought could walk in and do the job immediately. And it's just hard to do that now, Jim. I think that's what maybe Nebraska learned was don't be the guy that tries to train Dylan Raiola. Be the guy that brings him in when he's already had some experience and maybe some success.
Yeah, and we'll see, but it just they've got to get a turnout because they have been more than patient with Fred Hoiberg. I mean, you could have said they could have had good reason to let him go and to move on with him, and they didn't. They stuck with him, and somehow I don't know how. Dude's got it going now. I mean, wow. They have passed some big time mustard tests.
Yes.
So this is no flash in the pan either. I don't know how the hell he did it, but he's got it going on out there at Nebraska.
There's a couple of things that happened. First of all, he's always been a good basketball coach. That's the start. But they were struggling in his early tenure, and they looked at what was succeeding at other places in the league and what wasn't succeeding at Nebraska. And part of that was they weren't proficient enough on defense. So they worked to try to address that. Now they've addressed that while fielding maybe the most diversely talented offensive team in the Big Ten. I mean, there may be more profoundly talented offensive teams, but they've got guys that can score at almost every position. I mean, you're talking about Braden Frager coming off the bench and scored 11 points in 8 minutes against the Hoosiers on Saturday. Lawrence, we mentioned, got 27 in that game. Rink Mast has had huge games. Price Sanford has had some massive games offensively. They have a lot of guys who can score, but they're better schematically and better personnel-wise defensively. And that's been a big part of it. They rank higher now with all those guys that I talked about, Jim, who are known for shooting and scoring. With all of those guys doing that, they rank higher in Ken Palm defense than they do in offense. They're 15th on D now and 31st on offense. And so that's a pretty significant improvement over Fred's early years at Nebraska on the defensive end. And that's a big part of why they've been able. Look, they went against Michigan State, and Michigan State did a phenomenal job against Mast and the other Nebraska scorers. And so what did Nebraska do? They won 59-56. They grinded the grinders in Michigan State. So they've shown that they can win a lot of ways. This is a really good basketball team. I'm not promising they're going undefeated. I am not promising they're going to win this league, which is maybe not quite as good at the bottom as it's been in the past, but it might be the best this league has been in the top 5-6 positions that it's been in a long time.
Indiana on the road tonight up in East Lansing to try to get a magical road win. They have not accomplished that yet. That's something they're going to have to get done. This is not one of the places where you'd be expected for that to happen. But this is, oddly enough, a place where some IU teams that had no business winning Zero business with. Have gone there and just shocked us all and won. I'll never forget the year in Indiana they lost like 12 games in a row or something, and Archie Miller, and it was a good Michigan State team, and they like beat them easily. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here? It was like nuts.
That was
so
wild.
You never know.
I remember that very well.
But they had this Nebraska team. They just played and had a 16-point lead on, but couldn't hold its turnovers, bit them like it did in the Kentucky game. But so they have the ability to get there. We just haven't been able to close out against a good team, and that's something they're going to have to manage. But because they're going to be a bubble team all year long, and they're going to have at least a road, if not 2 road wins of sorts somewhere, somehow.
Yeah, there are places on the road, honestly, in the Big Ten this year where you should win. Whether or not they do go to Rutgers. That may be the only one that they have of those type games. That's part of the problem, Jim, is that they don't go to some of the lesser, like a Northwestern this year. They get it home. Northwestern's not having a good year. That's a team that doesn't have great chemistry right now. So they don't get to go there, for instance. They do go to Rutgers, and that's a place where they're going to want to get a road win. And then a lot of their road games are among the tougher ones, like tonight, like Michigan on the road in a week. They have the SoCal trip. Can you win it, Pauly? You can. Absolutely. You could win at Galen as well. Those are 2 where maybe but those are good teams. They are not fortresses right now in terms of either the team or the building itself. But though that's a place where they could maybe do it, but it's a tough trip in the middle of the end of January, beginning of February, and then you've got to go to Illinois and Purdue and Ohio State, which at that point might be fighting you for a bubble spot. You'd hope that maybe you'd win enough before that to at least get yourself up to a solid 8-9 or something like that. But it is a challenging schedule, especially given what would be available in the Big Ten this year. IU just happened to fall on the side of that road schedule being really tough.
Yes, sir. It certainly is, because the Big Ten is a gauntlet in basketball this year. I mean, a ton of really good teams, then a bunch of teams that, that are probably like you, if you're not one of the really good ones. Mike DeCourcy, the Sporting News. Make sure you are following, keeping up with all the great content, not just his, Bill Bender, all the great peeps over there. Heard Bill on the CFP presser yesterday, and he reminded me I got just a little bit here, but he's like, I look forward to meeting you. And I said, that's right. I forget when I see so many people, we see each other face to face so often because we use the video link, that I forget we haven't actually met. I'm like, gee whiz. So I'm like, that's right. We haven't really met. So I can't wait, but appreciate you, sir. And look forward to seeing you again, and enjoy your week. When are you on BTN next?
I will be on BTN on Saturday. We have a triple header, I think. We've got a great set of games on Saturday. I'll be on Fox Sports this evening on the pregame show, talking about the bracket that will be released in a couple hours. And I think you'll see the Hoosiers on there. So they won't be number 1 overall undefeated like their football team, but they will be in the bracket.
That's all that matters. Mike DeCourcy, appreciate you, sir.
Thanks, Jim.
Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Campbell's Corner up next. He's got Chris Korman, former IU beat writer, sports director at the Baltimore Banner, right after these messages. Looking for a place to have fun with the family, friends, or both? Head to Dave & Buster's by College Mall in Bloomington. Dave & Buster's has a wide array of games for everyone, and Sunday is fun day, half off of all games. There are $10 wings, $5 drafts, $5 margaritas for mom and dad watching the IU games on Dave & Buster's giant wall TVs and flat screens. Head out to the new Dave & Buster's by College Mall in Bloomington. Eat, drink, play.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage, and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Andy Moore Honda Bloomington has the deals for you, like great savings on the remaining 2025 Hondas. First-time buyers get more than expected. The Honda Civic and HR-V are the most popular vehicles for first-time buyers in the U.S. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington also has a quality selection of pre-certified used vehicles. And check out the selection of Andy Moore Honda Bloomington's 2026 models, like the Honda Passport, Honda CR-V Hybrid, Honda Ridgeline, and more. Get more for your money at Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Tuesday, and that means time for Campbell's Corner, J.D. Campbell, and he's got another good one this week. A former IU beat writer, currently the sports director of the Baltimore Banner, Chris Korman, which Baltimore, home of my favorite TV show of all time, The Wire. And for those of you that haven't seen it, you're missing out. But it's an old one because I think they still use pagers in that, Chris. I can't remember.
They do, yeah.
But thank you so much, for joining us. And Baltimore, one of the cities I've not been to. I can't believe I've been to a lot of places, but I've not freaking been to Baltimore. Been close because I was at the Maryland game this year. So, get close there, but never to Baltimore. And I want to go there, have a dinner out on the
You got to see a game in Camden Yards. I mean, Camden Yards.
That's another great place. Yeah, one of the that should be a life stopper for everybody, man. I mean, I remember watching the game when the record was broken, when Cal Ripken Jr. It's like crazy. That's so long ago, too. 98. I'm old. I'm old. I tell you, I'm old. But when were you in Blooming or covering the Hoosiers?
I was there from 2006 to 2010. I think I got there right before JD did.
Yes, that was an interesting time, and that's why. First off, it's great to see you again.
Yeah, great to see you.
And one of the things, and the reason why I thought it would be great for you and I to talk is because really not a lot is known publicly about that time. I talked about with the passing of Bob Hamill, really everything is kind of iffy because you were there obviously when maybe Kelvin was hired, or did you cover it when Mike was coaching at all?
No. So I was in graduate school. I was in New York City, and
congratulations. I saw you a Columbia University journalism grad.
Yeah.
Way to go.
I was there, and I was still paying attention to Big Ten sports. I went to Penn State undergrad. I covered a lot of Big Ten sports, and I was watching the Mike Davis era sort of end. And I think there was actually a big event. They lost to Penn State, which losing to Penn State in basketball is a sign that a coach may be in danger. And so, I have friends there. So I was watching the situation unfold, and then they hired Sampson, and it was such an interesting hire because he had been under investigation from the NCAA. And then the job came open. I was interning at Sports Illustrated, and I just sort of threw in an application because I thought it was, it's just such a fascinating place to see I was thinking about the basketball program 100%. It's the trying to rebuild something after Bob Knight. That was just a story that was irresistible to me. And the football team, I knew that it historically bad. One of the worst major programs in the country. I had been there in 2002 to cover Penn State. It was a game where Larry Johnson ran through 327 yards on a field that was not really grass anymore. It was basically painted dirt. The field was in such bad shape. I think it was a November game. Not many fans there. The media, the setup, the facilities, like Joe Paterno did his press conference like in a shed. We were in a very odd place that was freezing cold. I thought Paterno might keel over. He was coughing. You could barely hear him. It just felt like, oh man, where are we? Is this a Big Ten school? But then we went across the street to Assembly Hall, and there was I think it was a preseason game. I don't even think it was a real game. I think it was remember they used to play like EA Sports, or they would play traveling teams. I think they were playing one of those, and Assembly Hall was packed to the gills, 17,000 people screaming their brains out. And I was like, oh, okay. So this is what it means to be a basketball school. So I didn't think much about football when I came. I knew that I would be writing about it. And the real great thing about covering football back then at Indiana was we had incredible access. We were at practice almost every, if the team was practicing, we were allowed to be there. And
what the hell happened to that? Boy, that sure went away.
Oh, stop. Stop.
The team got good. For
me, I took the job. I came in May of 2007.
Okay.
Interviewed in April. And the one thing that I knew at the time, because of my MAC connections, I went from Bowling Green, and we were, with Miami of Ohio, I knew that Terry Hepner was never going to coach again.
Yeah.
But that was an issue I know for you and the administration and more than anything, probably from the family, that was really something that had to be handled very delicately.
Yeah.
But I know it was frustrating to the media, because certainly I started getting phone calls, because I was new. Hey, JD, they're not, but the other thing about that time is a lot of the seeds for what's going on now were planted when you talk about the North End Zone, right, when you talk about Cook Hall, when you talk about the baseball and softball, because, Tracy Smith,
yep,
and that program, and just the turmoil that first year for me with, kids getting in trouble. And you and I, the story you may not know is your phone call to me started a chain reaction of why we ended up releasing the NCAA sanctions that weekend of Hoosier Hysteria. Because you had called me the night before Hoosier Hysteria. We were having a banquet that morning, breakfast. And I went up to one of my, superiors, said, hey, I got this call, and this is what Chris Korman's telling me, blah, 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 blah. Next thing I know, 5 hours later, it was like, hey, we're going to release it this week. And I'm like,
right.
Worst Hoosier Hysteria for me ever, by far. But I always did respect, the Nittany Lion Mafia and your group, love Doug Wilson, fantastic. Then we had Hugh come in, the intrigue, like you talked about, of rebuilding the entire Indiana basketball program from scratch. I mean, like I say, we both earned our bones there that year. And I would just like to know, your thought of, everything that was going on. You had football, which was, Bill Lynch, play 13.
Right.
And then you had basketball under Tom that, that, again, I always say it wouldn't happen now with the transfer portal.
Right.
But you couldn't get anybody to want to come to Indiana.
Yeah. I mean, I will, you're right. Like we were in a situation, I think Pat Forty once said it to me. We were like after a game, 2:30 in the morning, we'd finish writing. He said like, this is the start of your career, but these 3 years have been like 15 years of experience.
Dog years.
Yeah. We had, and the Terry Hepner thing, I think people, I doubt it's been forgotten, but I mean, really understanding just how galvanized the fan base was by him, by his energy, by his charisma, by his force of personality. He was out there saying like, we're going to turn this around. And the evidence was not there on the field. I remember showing up to those first few practices and just saying, like, oh, okay, like this, that like they do not, especially like the offense and defensive line. We all know football is won in the trenches, right? And like I could just look, I'm not a football expert, but I could look at the offensive and defensive line and they just didn't have the bodies. They just, it's very hard to find 6'5", 300-pound people who move very well. And Indiana did not have them. And that, and it was just like, I was like, okay, this is really turning around the Titanic. Like getting this football program to be good would be incredibly difficult. Whereas we had just seen Kelvin Sampson come in under a shroud of controversy and pretty immediately turn around the basketball team by getting Eric Gordon and by taking DJ White to another level. And a basketball team, if that team had, first of all, if it didn't have the controversy, it would have probably made a deep tournament run. But even if it had one more really good player, or just a couple more guys who were a little bit more seasoned, they had gone through some things and maybe didn't develop the way they could have. One more guy and that team's a really good national caliber
team.
I mean,
we were really a top 10 team. And the thing I will tell you that I learned very early on in the process, I got to travel with Kelvin in the summer. And we went to Evansville, and you may remember we used to go to the Indiana State Fair.
Sure.
And no other coach, with maybe the exception of Woody, because he was an IU guy, I couldn't believe the way people were coming up to him and just thanking him and telling him, oh, man, your defense, the way your kids play, we're so excited. You got EG, EG and in fact, Eric texted me the other day, talking about football. But I had never seen as much excitement as in any season except maybe the number one year of 2013. But most people had really forgiven. I mean, the Texas Tech signs were not as prevalent. No. But that was, just an unbelievably interesting time in my career, your career, everybody's career who was part of it. And it was certainly different, too. The other seed that was planted that year that was the beginning of the Big Ten Network, which without BTN, I don't know if the Big Ten be the Pac-12?
Yeah. I mean, right. It is not. We're now seeing that the SEC has not maybe weathered the NIL changes as well as other, the dynamic has changed where it used to be the SEC.
That's because they were in NIL originally, but it was their own NIL setup, and now they've had to adapt to the rest of it. Jim, you shake your head, but it's all true, brother, and everybody knows it.
Look, I'm not disagreeing with you on that point, but it's not like it hasn't been going on elsewhere.
Oh no! I agree. Absolutely,
so everybody who's throwing
1,000%
at people,
but the SEC did it as a way of life. Every school in the conference,
and so have a lot of other schools that don't play in the SEC too. People just don't.
Michigan, Ohio State. I don't know. I don't doubt that. Other big schools, absolutely, but not as a conference. The SEC was just a way of life as a conference, and in most people's opinion. But I digress.
Jerry Tarkanian says hello, by the way, Jim.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, him and his manager, who was found in the trunk of a car when Jerry Tarkanian was thinking about taking the Lakers job. Yeah. So how about them apples?
Yeah. And I mean, the Big Ten Network was the big a genius move by the Big Ten, and they sold it hard. Remember Delaney, I think Jim Delaney and Mark Silverman, who just, I think, resigned from running Fox Sports, they came to the Herald Times newsroom.
I remember that. And it was like, because you could never get availability with Jim Delaney.
Right. And he's coming to to meet with us in our little newsroom in South Bloomington. But it was a game changer. It injected a lot of money into the conference and sort of changed the ambitions of the conference, I think, and led us toward this. But it's also really important to remember that Indiana had just an infrastructure that was built for winning. Even if football didn't do it, the men's soccer program is one of the most historic and was just built from the ground up. The swimming and diving program was incredible. Track was, it was a place that knew how to win against better program, more moneyed programs or programs that had more history or whatever may have been the blockade to football doing that. So it had the right people in the building. And that's one of the lessons here, right? Is that Scott Dolson, was around IU athletics forever. And I don't know that we, when Rick Greenspan left and we thought, okay, who's the next athletic director going to be? I'm not sure that we took Dolson all that seriously, because you just sort of think like, well, he's just sort of a lifer who's raising money, he's former night, does he really have what it takes to get to that next level? Obviously he does. Obviously he has done as good a job as anyone in his position has ever done in college sports at turning around the football program. And that's another, the other lesson with Curt Cignetti is you don't have to just hire the defense coordinator at Alabama or whatever the hot young coach is at the time. Look for people who, wherever they've gone, have won and succeeded, and don't think about the hype. This is a guy, Cignetti's a guy who had to go on TV and face questions like, why are you the guy? And he said, Google me. And sure enough, you Google him and there's his record. He was doing it in different places where maybe the spotlight wasn't as bright, but competition is competition. I think there are a lot of lessons in how Indiana has gotten to this point that people, in leadership and college athletics or just athletics in general should be looking at.
Yeah. And I also think that, again, this is how I came up, because I started at a junior college and finished up managing the visibility of a top 10 brand in college basketball. I do think there is something to say for working your way up and having to work without all the bells and whistles.
Yeah.
If you start at, let's say, North Carolina, and you have to go down, you go down a level, it's a shock. But for me, it was like everything. What Indiana serves food. We have to do this. We have to. Even though we did do a great job at Bowling Green during my time, that was, I think there is something about that for coaches working their way up
100%.
And getting to the promised land or the level that they want to be at, and getting to use those resources. And I think Curt Cignetti, it's the best college football coaching job in the history of college football, bar none.
It's not even close. It's not even
close. And the thing about it that makes it so interesting is he figured it out before anybody else on how to utilize what is available today in college athletics, whether it's transfer portal, NIL, or whatever. A lot of people were stubborn.
Right.
Didn't want to run off guys. Thought they were going to do it this way. Doesn't work.
Yeah.
Doesn't work.
Yeah.
I don't even know. Well,
yeah.
I'm not going to say what I really need to say, but
and he has a mix of...
It's just the portal season is the free agency,
right,
and that's where championships are won and lost.
Right. Yeah.
Don't talk about that, and we're seeing that right now.
Right.
With the guys just kind of going it's a player's market now. That's the amazing thing. And one of the things I was talking about earlier, Chris, is that Brendan Sorsby, former IU quarterback, was at Cincinnati, had a great season. he's from Texas, and Texas Tech. They're one of the teams with the most money right now. He said, hey, I'm going to Texas Tech. They needed a quarterback. And he got a great deal. I think he got like a $5 million deal, but I wonder if that part of that was because he's got $1 million. He had a 2-year deal with Cincinnati. And apparently there's a $1 million buyout. So how is that going to be had? I mean, Cincinnati's got to call him on that. If not, then there's no point. Why would you ever sign a 2-year deal with somebody if this is not, enforceable or whatever? There's just a lot of unknowns, man. And the thing that I love, the transfer portal has made college athletics great from the
No, it hasn't.
Well, it has from parity.
No. Hey, look, college athletics has not been the same since we saw Fred Hoiberg stumble off the floor in the Big Ten tournament. COVID is the impetus of the way former college athletics was and the way college athletics is now. That was the last night of true college athletics. And again, like I say, it's just I can have an opinion now because I'm not going to get in trouble.
No. You say whatever you think, man. That's your freedom.
Yeah.
To me, that was the last night of college athletics.
Yeah.
And I think it's all changed. It continues to change.
Yeah.
I don't like the fact that they can go to 4 different teams and play for 18 different years.
Again,
I don't like that, but I do like the ability that they can move without being thrown in prison. And my God, the NCAA, you were still here when the IU football player was not allowed to play because a piece of freaking paper was not turned in correctly. He lost an entire year of eligibility, and the NCAA is so idiotic. Oh, we didn't get this piece of paper on time, and so you can't play for a year. That's how idiotic they have been. And so when you're that ridiculously bound to things that are not in anybody's best interest, I don't know how they're still in business, to be honest with you, other than they put on a great basketball tournament.
Yeah, that's the number one reason. I think we've gone through this, change that is bewildering, right? Like the way everything is so different than even 6 years ago before the pandemic.
What? Can you hold on to that thought? I think, did I miss a break? I think I did. Chris Korman is with us, former IU beat writer. He's in Campbell's corner, which is a lot of times it's a safe place to be. Safe place, safe tree. We're in the safe tree. Safe place. JD makes it safe for everybody. JD Campbell. But we got to take a quick break. Back to Campbell's corner with JD Campbell and Chris Korman right after these messages.
The ISC Sports Network is your home for sports content across the Hoosier State. Find us live on TV and streaming or archived on our website and our app. The ISC is your one-stop shop for the content you want to see, including high school sports, college sports, and other great events throughout the year. Subscribe to our streaming service and get access to it all. ISC. Local lives here.
Looking for a place to have fun with the family, friends, or both? Head to Dave & Buster's by College Mall in Bloomington. Dave & Buster's has a wide array of games for everyone, and Sunday is fun day, half off of all games. There are $10 wings, $5 drafts, $5 margaritas for mom and dad watching the IU games on Dave & Buster's giant wall TVs and flat screens. Head out to the new Dave & Buster's by College Mall in Bloomington. Eat, drink, play. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. Adewale, I got such a way for you, Adewale. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your Andy Moore Honda Bloomington has the deals for you, like great savings on the remaining 2025 Hondas. First-time buyers get more than expected. The Honda Civic and HR-V are the most popular vehicles for first-time buyers in the U.S. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington also has a quality selection of pre-certified used vehicles. And check out the selection of Andy Moore Honda Bloomington's 2026 models, like the Honda Passport, Honda CR-V Hybrid, Honda Ridgeline, and more. Get more for your money at Andy. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Monday, or Tuesday rather. I lost what day of week it is. That's what happens when you're covering the CFP, man. I've got to be honest with you, and I'm not complaining, but JD, I've never worked harder than during this CFP run, because there is an unusual amount of extra media availabilities that are made available, which is great for us. But like preceding the Peach Bowl, I think got back from LA, I don't even remember. So the game was on Thursday, and then Saturday was the first Peach Bowl media availability, and then Monday it started with the players, and Tuesday more with the players, and then Wednesday we arrived in Atlanta, and that night there was more, and then Thursday there was more, and then Friday that was the game. So hey, there you go. And then we start all over again, heading to Miami. But it's been great. But wow, it's been a nonstop deal, and I got to tell you, brother, you might be lucky that you're not having to deal with it, because it is a gauntlet.
Look, we dealt with it. That's what happens when you get through the NCAA basketball tournament,
right?
Chris, I think, was out
open locker room.
Open locker rooms. Chris was with us, I think, when we went to NC State the year that Kelvin was replaced by Dan.
Yep.
And, the availability. And again, that's why the NCAA does a great job at that. I mean, and in fact, this is, again, if I had a magic wand, I would want college athletics to be run like professional sports, where the one organization dictates the type of media availability that you have, meaning coaches, like NBA, NBA guys are available during the day of the game at shoot-around. Major League Baseball, locker rooms are open.
Yeah.
It makes my job so much easier, because if you leave it up to and again, this is not a slight on the coaches. If you leave it up to the coaches, they want as little availability as possible. Their coach almighty is very paranoid. They all are, but with good reason. With good reason. So again, enjoy it, because you may never have this again, or maybe you'll have it every year for 10 years. Who knows? But I do know, don't ever take it for granted, and sleep. What's the thing? You can sleep when you're dead.
Exactly.
And you feel that way, and when you change time zones, and you play again. The biggest thing that I always felt at Indiana is we were always going to play that last game of the night in the NCAA tournament, the 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. We played Kentucky in the Georgia Dome, maybe tipped off, North Carolina and Philadelphia. And then we had the plane issues back in 2022, playing in the first four. I'm over it now. I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to get tested for COVID anymore. I can stay up as late as I want and watch the West Coast games that I love so much, or I can just lounge around and do nothing. And that's a great part. But Chris knows that. And what Chris was always dealing with, deadlines. And I don't know, do deadlines even matter anymore?
No, not at all. Yeah, I mean, it used to be that we would need to get something in the paper, right? Like the physical paper, the Herald Times, that was delivered 6 a.m. So I would probably have to write a story by midnight, and those games, like you're saying, games are starting at 9:20 25 at night. They're coming down to the last possession. I used to have 2 stories. You know, I'd have an IU wins, IU loses story. I'd be updating them both at the same time. And then I would look up, see what happened, see what the reaction was, finish the story, send it. And then maybe we'd get a quote from Tom, you know, depending on how quickly Tom came out. You know, sometimes he would linger and talk to the team, and maybe we'd get a quote in there, maybe not. Now it's totally different. You know, we cover the Ravens. They played nothing but night games, I think, the last 4 weeks. I'm up till 4:30 in the morning because we don't have deadlines. So I might as well let my reporters craft good stories. You know, they take their time, they talk to players, they go into the locker room, they get as many quotes as they can. They think about the story a little bit. And then we're releasing stories throughout the morning to keep our web, you know, the Baltimore Banner is only online. We don't have a print product. So we're literally just doing the best we can to get great stories. But yeah, it's changed the dynamic completely. There's no, and I think even people who are writing for papers, the press times are so early now that they don't get game stories for late games into the paper, you know, unless you're the Washington Post or the LA Times, one of the large newspapers that's still trying to do that. So yeah, it's a totally different world now. And probably it leads to less sleep for a lot of us, but probably better content. You know, it allows us to, we're not rushing in, you know, you see the sort of jerky journalist portrayed where you're rushing in and asking a quick question and saying like, why did you lose this game? And we don't have to do that now. We can have more human interactions. As I said, you know, the Ravens lose and lose to the rival Steelers the last game of the season, miss the playoffs. Like, we don't have to rush in. We can sit down and have a real conversation and get real information onto our site the next day. Give people time to talk. So I think that's been a positive in a lot of ways.
Chris Korman in Campbell's corner today. JD Campbell, that is, the former SID for Indiana. Chris Korman, former IU beat writer, now the sports director at the Baltimore Banner. You get to cover another phenomenal athlete, Lamar Jackson with the Ravens. And I was fortunate that I think I was still in Southern Indiana when he was at Louisville. And I remember his high school coach, when Lamar was a freshman, I think, said something like, this dude's going to win the Heisman. And boy, it didn't take a lot of watching to see that. I didn't know how good of a quarterback he was actually going to be, but I knew he was special, because if you ever saw him run from behind, or he's like a snake. He gets through. He never takes a direct hit. And it's like, what the hell? How does he do this? And it was time and time again. Now, not very good at holding on to the damn ball, but he was just a snake and just so weird. And then he would have these big time passing games still. And you're like, how's he doing that? Just a unique athlete, but just a tremendous, tremendous athlete, man.
Yeah. You know, the phrase one of one gets thrown around a lot these days, but Lamar Jackson is actually one of one. I don't think there's ever been a quarterback like him, and there may never be one again. I mean, he has improved exponentially as a passer. You know, I don't know if people really realize that. You know, he didn't win the MVP last year, and he absolutely should have. I mean, his numbers were absurd, his passing numbers. And I feel like I think people thought it was time for Josh Allen. He's been so good for so long. But last year was Lamar Jackson's best season, and really it came as a passer. You know, he was running a little bit and setting it up here and there, but largely he was sitting back in the pocket and making throws. And he has become such a precise passer. He understands defense in a really exceptional way, and he's just a savant. He's a really different type of person. He doesn't. You know, he's not doing the Tom Brady thing where he's rah and sort of branding himself. You know, Lamar Jackson, I don't think is ever going to do a 10-part documentary about Lamar Jackson. That's just not who he, and in fact, he is an intensely private person. You know, his kids are never around. His family, you know, his mother is his agent, and she has managed to just stay entirely behind the scenes. And it is a really, really interesting approach that brings with it some problems. but he is such a sublime player. And I think people in Baltimore, they've been watching it now for 7 seasons or whatever it is. They've sort of lost just how privileged they are to see this guy game by game, because he's just really an unreal player. It's just hard. It's hard to come up with words to describe how good he is. Now, obviously, he has to, you got to win playoff games if you want to have a great legacy. You gotta make huge plays in the biggest moments if you want to be the guy. I think he's already cemented that he's going to be a Hall of Famer. Dan Marino obviously never won a Super Bowl playing other players, but that's really the challenge for him. And I think that's what this coaching change is about, just to see if changing the chemistry a little bit. Nobody's thinking John Harbaugh is not a great football coach. The guy's incredible. He really, to do, I think he was hired, 2008. So when I was in Bloomington, to coach in the NFL for that long is astounding, with the amount of pressure and the number of personalities that you're dealing with, and just all the factors. Amazing run by John Harbaugh, but just feels like maybe it was time for just to see if changing the personalities can change, these things that we don't understand about sports, right? Like sports, there's magic to it. There's things, every team practices long and hard. Every team watches video. Every team thinks about the details. Every team has team meeting. They all do the same thing. So they're, for the most part. So there's, and that's the thing that fascinates me about Cignetti is like, where is his magic? And I know I'm lucky, friends with Zach Osterman, who has chronicled this season as well as anyone can. So I do have some insight there, but that's the thing is like, what is it that sets these teams apart? And that's the thing that sports writers, I think, Pat McAfee may think we all hate sports, but we actually, I think most of us are out here on a quest to try to understand what is the difference, what makes a player or a team, especially teams, because it's just so, there's so many different factors. And a football team, you're talking about so many people that have to be on the same page. How the hell does that happen? And so I think that's one of the, beautiful things about this story with Indiana football is like just understanding how this could all come together, how this guy pulled this off. It's just so fascinating.
Well, I think one of the ways is you eliminate distractions as much as you can. And I call it narrow your awareness. Stop reading Twitter. Stop having the people around you tell you what's being said. I know I'm watching TV tonight or TV this morning, and everything's about, will Mike Tomlin leave now? And again, with obviously we're close to the Harbaughs with the relationship with Crean, and I just had
Mike DeCourcy on. I promise you, he is not in that camp of kicking him to the curb.
No, and again, it all becomes, with organizations like the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Lakers, maybe the Celtics, all of those organizations, there just becomes an expiration date. And it's harder and harder now because there are more people out there voicing opinions, and whether you care about who's your daddy 44 and what they say, because Chris and I dealt with stuff on the message boards. We heard someone saw this, and we might know who that person is, or you might know that they have some real insight, but you just got to tune it out. You've got to and the most important thing to me, and I've said this before, Jim, get the people around you to get off social media, and don't bring crap to me that's going to make my day change my focus on my team, because at the end of the day, the only thing that matters, the only stat that matters is the one on the scoreboard. But we've all known a lot of coaches who get caught up and worry about, is there going to be a crowd today? Is there going to be this? Is there going to be that? And with Cignetti, again, I don't know him, but what I've seen is he's got everybody aligned, which is really hard to do. Now, So somebody asked me what I thought the score was going to be next week. I said, 42-14 Indiana, because I haven't seen anything from Indiana other than maybe the Penn State game where they weren't at optimum level.
Right.
Until somebody comes in and plays them and puts some pressure on Indiana, I don't see them losing. But we all talk about Kismet or karma. You're playing in Miami against Miami, the only other football team of any kind that's ever gone 16-0 is the Miami Dolphins.
Right.
Stars line up. And who knows if Hurricane Shula is going to come through during that game. I may not be hurricane season, I don't know. But we all know weather in Florida can change on a dime.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, a football game is a football game. Like, the opening kick could get fumbled by Indiana, and then Miami scores quick, and it changes. You're off tempo. Then you're not sticking to what your game plan is. Indiana could lose, and it probably, if we're stepping back, it's not going to really diminish what they've done, and certainly seems like Cignetti will have them back. But it's the focus thing that you bring up is so crucial because. Every problem a program has can be solved by winning. Do you have good chemistry? You do. No.
You do if you win.
We just won and we had bad chemistry, guys. That's never how it happens, right?
No.
And all the crowd. If you win, the crowd will show up. If you win, you don't have to market very hard. You don't have to have a clever marketing slogan if you win.
No.
So that coaches, I get how we turn coaches into sort of CEOs and figureheads and the people who, that need to make all these decisions and think about the in-game presentation. But they are people who should be thinking about athletic performance. They need to be getting their teams ready and they need to be scouting the other team. And it sounds to me like Cignetti, it just has this thing about him where he is not buying, he has been able to not buy into that hype of okay, I'm the big man on campus. Every decision has to come through me. He is delegating role. He is, telling his people what to do. He's doing what he's good at. He's figuring out what they're good at, having them focus on that. And then he's bringing it all together and making sure that the players understand it. I don't want to make it, when you say it out loud, it sounds simple. It obviously is not. There are 100 teams, college football teams, trying to get to this spot, and none of them came close to doing what Indiana did. So it is not simple, but it's also not complicated. It's just something that you have to be, you have to have sort of the discipline and again, a little of that magic to be able to get everyone to be pushing the same direction.
Yeah, and Chris, you remember that first year, it was kind of an unwritten rule. If somebody wants to do a story on Eric Gordon, you better find something similar that will make DJ White feel as though it's important. We saw the same that year, Jim, when you were talking about winning at Michigan State. If I had some, because everybody, the only person they wanted to talk to that year was Romeo. Well, I had to find enough things for Javon Morgan to not upset the apple cart. It was true during the number one season because Cody. Well, how do you get Jordan Hulse on the cover of Basketball Times? Right. How do you get Christian Watford in the picture? And at college, that's what happens. In the pros, you don't hear from the coach if you're in one of those roles that worries about getting people in the seats, what the game presentation is. And that's why I think professional sports right now, and we've seen it with some great playoff games, except last night. College could probably step back and really look at what's going on in professional sports, because all of those playoff games up until last night were really, really compelling. And the Bears game especially.
Yeah. And I think we'll get there. I mean, I think that's the thing with college. We've gone through this period of change, and we're talking about contracts, like our contracts enforceable. Like we're going to just need to come to a point where college age players, and they're getting a little bit older too, because of NIL, the average age of the college, we're not talking about 17, 18-year-old kids as much anymore. And the average age in college hockey is 22 and a half. Like we are talking the league, it's shifting a little bit. And I think, and they can have advisors now, which certainly helps them. So I think we're going to come to a situation where college sport, hopefully we can create a situation where college sports gives players the fruits of their labor, pays them for what they're doing, but also recreates what we all loved about college sports, was that teams would stay. There would be a little bit more consistency with some movement, but we'd be able to see players develop. And then maybe, if one player doesn't develop, then, you have the drama of the portal, like, hey, we really need a tight end, or we really need, where it's not quite as much chaos, but there is still some, the kids should be able to move. A coach can move whenever they want. An English major can move whenever they want. Like, I don't think we should be restricting kids unless, again, if they get the contract, if they choose to sign a contract and say, I'm going to be here 3 years for this amount, and if I want to get out of it, I have to buy it out. Like, there are legal, none of this is new, right? Like, this is all, we know how this works. There's models out there that can be followed. And so I do think that college sports will find some stable ground in a couple of years. It's just right now we're in a period of upheaval, and Indiana football has been one of the main beneficiaries of understanding how to make that work.
Yeah. Jim, I have one more thing I want to interject on Chris's point there. If there was stability, again, in college athletics, this is the starting lineup for the IU basketball team tonight. Jalen Hood-Schifino, Malik Renew, CJ Gunn, Caleb Banks, and Logan Duncombe.
That would not be a good team.
I'm not complaining about that. I'm just saying that's the difference between then and now.
Thank God, because that would not be a very good team.
You don't think so?
Oh, no.
Again,
I mean, there are some good players there, but there's also some holes.
What would you thought of Juwan Morgan after his second year? Would you have seen him become the player that he became?
No, I mean, guys develop, no doubt. I mean, there's no question that guys develop, and that's what they're supposed to do to get better. But then, CJ didn't. I mean, he's having a good run at DePaul. He's playing well at DePaul and having
Caleb
fun there.
Caleb had a great run at Tulane. I know Logan's still playing at Winthrop. I'm just saying. I'm just giving you an example.
Yeah, I agree.
Because you saw the contributions guys like Leal and Galloway were.
Oh, absolutely. Well, you just look at the Indiana team right now, a team that's made up of 0 to 3 stars. Man, that's all you got to look at and see how development really happens. And it happens in basketball just like it does football.
Sure.
Chris, I cannot thank you enough for taking the time to join us on Campbell's Corner. Very special place. Going to have to start getting some shirts made up to give out to everybody that comes into Campbell's Corner, JD. I'll have to get that done.
Let me come up with a design, and we'll get hats. We'll get merch.
Yeah, we need merch. JD's face needs to be on it too. That's design.
And I'm going to get Coke Zero to sponsor it. How's that?
I love it, man. I miss that. See, there's no Coke Zero in the press room anymore since JD's gone, and I missed it.
A lot of things.
Damn it! Trust me, it's right. A lot of things are different.
Tonight, and the guy that's doing play-by-play, Brandon Godden, is going to join us in 2 weeks. So, I've already got a couple more guests lined up. Him, Luke Zeller. Cody said he'd come on too. But
the Big Handsome, can't wait. I talked to the Big Handsome at the Hall of Fame deal this year, but I've got to hit a break. We're about out of time. You can stick around. I don't want to keep Chris, but he can stick around too. I just have to hit a break. We're back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this. Looking for a place to have fun with the family, friends, or both? Head to Dave & Buster's by College Mall in Bloomington. Dave & Buster's has a wide array of games for everyone, and Sunday is fun day, half off of all games. There are $10 wings, $5 drafts, $5 margaritas for mom and dad watching the IU games on Dave & Buster's giant wall TVs and flat screens. Head out to the new Dave & Buster's by College Mall in Bloomington. Eat, drink, play.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage, and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Andy Moore Honda Bloomington has the deals for you, like great savings on the remaining 2025 Hondas. First-time buyers get more than expected. The Honda Civic and HR-V are the most popular vehicles for first-time buyers in the U.S. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington also has a quality selection of pre-certified used vehicles. And check out the selection of Andy Moore Honda Bloomington's 2026 models, like the Honda Passport, Honda CR-V Hybrid, Honda Ridgeline, and more. Get more for your money at Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Hey, welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio. JD Campbell with me here to finish out the day. Just finished up with Campbell's Corner and Chris Korman. Thank him and thank JD for filling in the corner. And for those of you down in Evansville listening on the ref, they've got a lot coming up. Wednesday night, 7 p.m. girls basketball, Evansville Central versus Vincennes Lincoln. Thursday night, USI men's basketball versus Tennessee Tech. Friday, you got Evansville Memorial boys versus Evansville Modern Day. And then Saturday at noon, the Hoosiers and the Hawkeyes. Very interesting matchup there, JD, with the coach at Iowa, who many thought could be a potential for the Indiana job last year. So Darren DeVries taking on Iowa this weekend. And they've got to head to East Lansing tonight, man. That's a tough place to play. And Michigan State, a pretty good team. They're one of the top 5, 6, 7 teams in the Big Ten right now.
Well, yeah, and when you talk about the mental aspect of the schedule is what becomes difficult in the Big Ten, because it is not forgiving, and it hasn't been for a long time. At least, during my time, there were games where you thought, we're on the road, we're going to win. And most of the time we did, but sometimes you don't. And the grind, as you're finding out with the CFP, the grind of the travel is what really separates. I had the opportunity to go visit my buddy Seamus McKnight over at the Graduate.
Where's Nebraska?
Nebraska, yeah.
Yes.
One of their assistants, Ernie Ziegler, was an assistant when I was at Bowling Green, so it's nice to catch up with him. But they were coming off a week where they had gone to Ohio State and played it maybe Monday. But the grind of the road, and when you start not having success, then it becomes, that year where we lost the 12 out of 13 games, but we win at Michigan State.
Yeah, it's crazy.
All we had to do was beat Ohio State in the Big Ten tournament, and we were still in.
Yep, it would have been. And it's been a hell of a day, as always. Always fun with JD. Also, Mike DeCourcy, big thanks. And Chris Korman, of course, from the Baltimore Banner. Most importantly, to each and every one of you. Appreciate you, JD, and appreciate all of you guys. We'll see you again tomorrow For J.D. Campbell, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the...
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.